For as long as I could remember, I was always raised by a single parent. I suffered a lot of parental neglect. She was never there for me in certain moments of my life where I needed her. And for example, I was molested as a child, and that was due to parental neglect. I felt that she should have been the one protecting me, but she was never there. Um, I felt like I couldn't tell anyone. There was no one to talk to. I couldn't confide in my mama. I don't ever remember having a personal relationship with my mother. And so as I got older, um, there was more hatred, more bitterness towards my mother. I remember one time when my mother told me that she wanted to take me to say goodbye to one of my relatives who was moving out of state. And so we got in the car, went to meet my relatives, and my mother left me there, and without even saying goodbye to me or letting me know that I was going to, with my relatives, out of state to live with them. And I was very angry, very upset. Here I am in this vehicle with my mother's family moving to another state, and I didn't even know it. It was sort of like she just abandoned me, you know? And that was something very hard, very difficult for me to deal with. How did I come back to forgiving my mother? Well, that was a long process. There was a lot of pain, a lot of hurt in my heart. And I think a lot of it was because I didn't know any better. But if there was one thing that softened my heart to care, it was coming back to God. It was coming back to Jesus. The Bible tells me in 1 John chapter 1 verse 9, if you confess your sins, He is faithful and just to forgive you. And not just that, He says He will cleanse you from all unrighteousness. From that bitter relationship between my mother and I thought about all the bad things I had done in life. And perhaps it was to get her attention. I used to steal from my mother. I would do things as a kid to get her attention. I once pulled a gun on the pastor's son because he threatened me. I believe I was craving love. That's what it was. Love. I was never accustomed or never felt loved in a home by a mother and a father. And it caused me to do a lot of things that I'm not proud of. But like I said, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have known forgiveness. Because it was the love of God, the sacrifice of Jesus that showed me He loved me. You see, the Bible also says in Psalms chapter 27, verse 10, if your mother and your father forsake you, God says, I will take care of you. God has always been there then to comfort me, even in my moments of hatred and pain and suffering. However, today, my mother and I have the best of relationships. I can imagine my mother back then. Um, she had a daughter that died at the age of 24 and a son that spent 15 years in prison. I can imagine my mother crying day and night to God to forgive her for the choices she made in life. And I'm not at all bitter towards my mother anymore. I understand. I love my mother with all my heart. And today, she constantly talks to me, reminding me, God is there for you, son. And because of that, I believe that I'm still alive. And I have this opportunity to tell people about the love of God. The reconciliation between my mother and I, bringing us back together, it wasn't something that we had done. It was something that God put in our hearts, especially mine. One thing I knew coming back into the faith, believing in God, is that I couldn't move forward in life. In other words, I couldn't be successful, especially about telling people the love of God, if I myself did not forgive. So in order for me to witness this true forgiveness, I had to forgive my mother. And then the evidence of that forgiveness would be revealed through my relationship with others, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my other family members. So forgiveness is not an easy thing. It's a difficult transition, especially reflecting. It's difficult because there's a lot of pain in the past. But forgiveness is possible. You can have that forgiveness. You can forgive those who have hurt you in your life. And I just want to invite you to come on the journey with me, to forgive, to live.